Good evening, wherever you are. This is Evening with Hunter. And with us here, we got Ben. And before I go to our guest Ben, we got Rio. How was your week?
Beautiful.
You had a beautiful week?
Yes, well rested.
Oh, that is fantastic. I had a fantastic week. I was moving offices. It is getting a little bit cool at the moment. It is getting a little bit chill.
I hope you did your winter shopping.
I hasn't done any winter shopping for me and shopping. If I got a beanie, I'm sorted.
Yeah.
We got our guest here today. Can you introduce yourself?
Thank you. This is Banyatedi Paul, and I'm the president of the Queensland African Communities Council, an umbrella that represents all the African people in Queensland.
That is fantastic, Ben. It is beautiful to have you here with us in studio, and it is there's a lot of things which is happening, which you have to tell us what is happening, especially within our community and in general, what is coming up, where we are heading to, and in general, as you know, we are a very diverse community. We have from West Africa, we have from Southern Africa, East Africans, and it is all smorgasbord of everything. But also, there's something I need you to explain to us, especially we had a big appreciations of you guys setting up the soccer on the weekend.
Well, I think this is the second year we're actually doing the Mandela Cup. It's going to be an annual event at the QACC, and we've got major events coming up, the award night on the 7th of May, and we also have the Africa Day Festival on the 28th of May. So there's so much happening.
We'll come back to that. In the meantime, let's get Jovia from Nairobi with Oteo Brown Jeraha. Jeraha in Swahili means injury. Why is she complaining of some injury?
Heartbreak, maybe?
Heartbreak? It can be Jeraha.
Sounds like a love song.
Yeah, it is a love song with those. But having said that, as Jovia fades away, I'll get back to you, Ben. These are setting up for your program, which is you set it up for the Africa Mandela Cup. How many teams were there?
There were about 12 teams altogether, including the girls' soccer teams.
Oh, that is fantastic. And the whole thing is, which I like with the whole thing is involvement, especially with the female in soccer. Many years ago, back in Brisbane, when my daughter were soccer players, I used to sponsor the girls' team, and I sponsored Virginia United Soccer. We had 2 teams which I sponsored. The whole club also. It is fascinating to see, get the kids out there, run around, and what were the challenges associated with bringing those teams together? Because I know there's massive logistics to bring all those.
Well, a number of challenges. First of all, it's important that the coaches are very active. Obviously, some of the teams, they do have players that play for the club. And for the coaches to actually put the team together was quite challenging because some of them did not want to leave the club and come and play for the Mandela Cup. At the same time, the experience from last year, African Cup of Nations and also Mandela Cup, so some of them really wanted to come and play. And we had to make sure that we engage all the coaches and then making sure that they were happy, also understanding the prizes at the end, what are they going to get in return if they were to participate and give up other things that they're supposed to be doing. So there were a number of challenges that we actually had to overcome.
Oh, that is fantastic. I had a quick chat and we had that big wordings here in the studio, and including some videos which are going online at the moment, and I really like to appreciate he's not hopefully he's receiving the Senator for Queensland for Liberal Party, that is Paul Scar, who was one of your supporters and sponsors for the event. I think that was fantastic. When you get to finding a venue, how difficult is it to find a venue that it can be able to accommodate that sort of group of people? I saw when I was there, there were about 300 plus.
It's not, it wasn't easy, and we struggled very much last year as well, because last year we had about 18 teams participating in the Mandela Cup, and the challenge always been with the resident. near the field where we would normally play, because the resident would be very hesitant and complaining about the African players and people parking all over the streets and everywhere. So to find a facility that would say, yes, you guys can play here, was quite challenging. So we had to look for the clubs that have like whose values align with the community values, and that they actually need a strategic partnership and collaboration, because we would be promoting the work that they do, and we're also utilizing their facilities. So finding a place has been very, very, very difficult, and some of the venues are relatively very expensive as well.
Is there a possibility of down the track you might be able to be having some finals like one of the big stadiums here in Sankop Stadium or one of those things? Are you looking forward sort of to see this African knockout and they're on Sankop Stadium?
That's one of the dreams. So it's one of the vision, not only in terms of using the big stadium and all of that. It's also about exposing the talent within the African community. So we've been trying to engage with the major sporting communities and everyone mainstream clubs to make sure that they also come, regardless of where we're playing, even actually a very local field in the suburbs. So we would like them to come and see the talent, because there's so much talent in our community that's not known. And my vision is to make sure that we engage with mainstream institutions to come and actually identify the skills and talent in a way that if they are more strategic and very smart enough to come and actually grab some of those boys from our community to diversify some of their national teams, Australia would be one of the most competitive countries in terms of the sport. So it's more about them coming out and actually having a look and watch the talent in the community. And that Australian talent, that's my belief. So it's not African community sport talent. So if they utilize those opportunities, so it will come in the name of Australia.
That is fantastic. And I don't know whether Rio, you know, there's a gentleman called Mobile. Mobile.
Yep.
Have you heard of Mobile?
No.
It is one of the top soccer players. He's born, I think, in Kakuma, in one of the refugee camp, originally from the family is from South Sudan. But he's the Socceroo, the Australian national soccer team. He's one of the best strikers you have in town.
Yeah.
And some of his cousins, they are here in Logan, they are here in Brisbane. Some of them are tuned to me. And having said that, it is, I looked a couple of years back when there was a World Cup in Russia. The French team won the cup, but
yes.
what I saw is maybe 9 out of 13 they were Congolese, Ivory Coast, they were Africans. This is it is called diversity, and I see, especially with soccer, women in soccer, especially those young Congolese who won the tournament there, and I cannot wait to see how they can down the track to be able to go and represent Australia. They go playing for Socceroo. We also have some few, because in our community we have serious talents. Those Kenyan marathon runners, they are here in our backyard. Those basket players, the tall dinka fellows, they are here in our backyard. The punch-up guys, the big muscle guys from Zimbabwe, they are here in our backyard. They should be bringing some gold medals. So down the track, I looked in the statistics. Last time, there were about 6 to 8 people of African ethnic who went to Tokyo game to represent Australia. And within that, now coming to, I think it is Paris, I will be looking to see, we have a big, it will triple. 2032, we have Olympics here in Brisbane. And I cannot tell you, there will be 50 plus African representatives. So those Kenyan marathon runners, they'll be running for their money, because there's some Australians of that ethnicity who are here in Brisbane. Some of them might be my daughters, my sons,
Yeah.
running around, and the other ones who are going to be bringing gold medals. I'll come back to you, and I think it is fantastic things you're doing within our community, especially bringing those young people to go and participate that, because of what I could see, and people who are online, you can go to our social media and you see the videos which we took there on the field that day, which you did a fantastic things of editing them. You
Thank
can
you.
see the joy with these people, especially young people who have been on these social isolations because of lockdown,
Yeah.
and now they are out on the street playing
Yeah.
soccer, screaming.
Everyone looks so happy and alive. It was lovely to see.
Absolutely, and it is those are the sort of things I look to see how we can be able to be supporting our community and bringing those people especially out. That is a beautiful song called Kedi Tache. What was that about? You have more information on this.
It's just a song about touch it. I cannot go deeper than that.
Fantastic. Actually, most of it, yes, it is in English. It was something you were to bring up today.
Oh yes, about Angela Okutoyi. We promised we were going to talk about her. So she's Africa's tennis queen, and 22, she was the only African to win a match at the Australian Open, the junior championship. So that was pretty exciting. I don't know much about her. All I know is that she's from Kenya, and she is 18, 19 years now.
She's 19, I think it is. She's
19
now.
Yeah, so I read also that she was an orphan. So what would her life be like? Is she an orphan or she grew up with her grandparents? I'm not quite sure.
The background of these, she's from the name straight away from Kenya, you'd be able to know somebody called from her name Okutoyi. You know straight away she's from Western Kenya. That is a very ethnic name from Western Kenya. What she did was she grew up with her, I don't think she had a parents. She grew up with her grandma, and her grandma will be putting her on orphanage because of orphanages in Kenya where you have the parents dead for some reason or they don't exist. There's some institutions there, they usually call them kids orphanage, where they are looked after until they can be able to sort of, and to develop her talent, where when you're put in an orphanage sort of a situation because of issues back home where the parents are not capable, those kids are given a second life. And now she did not even get a second life. She got to learn how to hit the tennis ball. And I tell you, I was looking the other day on BBC saying she's going to be the next Serena Williams.
Yeah, because she said she was inspired by Serena. So I guess that was her outlet for whatever, her life.
And the whole thing is, you look into it, she come from a very humble background, and how she's hitting the ball. She was there, I think she was the only representative from Africa who was in Grand Slam. And at her age, I think she's going to be sensational. All what I can see is best of luck, Angela, and very soon she might be coming to Brisbane Open.
What's her ranking?
Right now she's number 53. Wow, racking.
Wow.
So I'm not sure how my tennis skills are. Do you reckon I should give her
I
go
think
for
you
her
and
money?
me, my dear, it's too late.
I think it is too. My knees, I don't think can be able
I
to
struggle
turn.
to get up from the couch. So
That is true. And also, when the ball is hit, when it is coming 100 k's an hour, I'm not sure whether I can see it.
I'm sure you'll be walking the other way to get a bottle of water.
I reckon if she happened to come to Brisbane, instead of me being in the field, I'll be the water boy.
Oh yes. Oh, will you even
Or
survive? You have to run across the pitch like crazy.
Or the ball boy. Those
You got it.
actually come and put the. But in the meantime, as we continue on these, this is it is fascinating things which we have within our community, and it is always great to see people coming from that background.
This song is deep.
Ngoma ndio hiyo. Elsi Wameo anasema bado anasimama kwenye peace. Venye tulikuwa tunazungumza Waswahili wenzangu pale pembeni, nina hapa kwenye studio niko na Ben ambaye huwa anashughulikia kundi za Waafrika ambao wako hapa. Hii inaitwa QACC, kundi ambao huwa inashughulikia wote wa Afrika ambao wako hapa, mashirika mbalimbali. Tuko naye hapa kwenye studio, tunajadiliana jinsi hii mwelekeo wa sisi kwa sisi wa Afrika hapa Australia, jinsi mambo zinaendelea. Sasa kwenye zaidi tutaingia, nitamhoji kidogo kidogo kujue ni nini mambo inaendelea sehemu zake. Nanyi Waswahili wenzangu hapo pembeni, ngoma ndiyo hiyo, tutaendelea. Wacha nirudi pale kwenye mitambo nizungumze na Ben. So Ben, sorry about that. It was I had to. I'm sure your Swahili is not as sharp as mine. I had to go back in Swahili to sort of, because Swahili, we are going to introduce Swahili to be African Union national language. It is the Swahili. So here we try as much as possible. And I was surprised when I was in soccer to see these a lot of Congolese, Sudanese, Burundi, Tanzanians, Kenyans, they all speak Swahili. By the way, there's 320 million people who speak Swahili in that sub-Saharan Africa. If you combine some sections of southern Juba, you go all the way to Malawi, there's about 320 million people. So one of these fine days, I'll be teaching my co-host here, Rio, some Swahili. Say Hakuna Matata.
Hakuna Matata Jumbo.
Oh, you're already in Swahili. You are up into it. Ben, before we go further, I was checking on how is this funding. You're working on this youth program up in Ipswich. How is that program working?
Well, actually, the programs that we run, it's not only at Ipswich. And that's the information I've also been trying to share with the people. So we do have youth mentors who are based at different LGs. Ipswich is one of those. And we are also based at Logan, Brisbane North and Brisbane South. And we run programs inside the juvenile detention centers, Brisbane Youth Detention Center and Westmoreton Youth Detention Center, where we do have a significant number of our young people locked up in there. So the African Youth Center at Red Bank Plain in Ipswich is the first of its kind in Australia, I would say. And we opened it about 12 months ago after I approached one of our key partners in the community service industry to put in some investment into that. And they agreed to fund us for 12 months to open the center, and the center offered 7 days a week to reflect the flexibility and the way our young people actually operate in the community. So it's been a remarkable achievement for our community, and at the moment we believe that we will be having similar centers probably at Brisbane North, Brisbane South as well.
That is fantastic. For what is the demographic of youth specifically are you targeting from the African community?
So we're targeting the age of 10 to 21. And then we also welcome any other age demographics that might need some assistance, because as a community, we cannot be so strict in terms of the policy framework and things like that. We've got to be very flexible based on the needs of the community members. So at the moment, especially when it comes to rehabilitation strategy, which we run inside the juvenile detention centers, so we focus on the age of 10 to 17, because that's the age that's actually locked up by law now. And then when they turn 18, they transition into adult jail. We're also running some programs to support young adults moving into the adult prisons. Some of the major prisons, we also seeing a significant number of our people increasing, and we've been running some programs in there. And then we run early intervention programs based in schools, different schools where we have a relatively larger number of African students across different LGs, Brisbane North, Brisbane South, Ipswich and Logan. So those are the two strategies that we've been applying: early intervention in school and also rehabilitation for those who are in the criminal justice system.
The other thing I was to ask you is we have a demographic within our community of single moms, single dads with young adults, where those gaps, as you understand, is for example, bringing up a teenager as a single mom, single-handedly, there's no father figure available. It can be very challenging. How do those, and literally, as you know, within every demographic of the community, youth, when they get bored, they're the ones, that is how they usually run into trouble. And then them, an assimilation within the with the Australian community, that the parents will say, yep, we are going to somebody's birthday party, and then they end up on a different side where I was brought up, we didn't go for that, let's go and look after goats, or it was very well controlled within the community. But here is the kids, they found themselves is like they're in free range. How do your interventions or your programs usually help those, especially with single moms, young adults getting themselves into trouble with law?
So thank you, Hunter, for that question. What we've done actually when I came into the leadership is looking at the system as a whole. And as an emerging community, the African community, we are a newly emerging community trying to engage, struggling. Majority of our people are struggling to engage with the system and understand how the system works. And as they try to adjust in the new system, including their parenting styles and things like that. So we identified a few things, and at the end, we developed what we call an African village model in Australia. And that's because the way we raise children in Africa is totally different. A child belongs to everyone in the village, and every single person takes responsibility to look after the child. And if a young person did something great, so the whole village would celebrate in excitement and take the pride of the achievement. Here in Australia, we are struggling because everyone actually living on their own. You don't see that support network, if you like, whether it's the family members or the whole community. So what we've done is I look at how do we develop the so-called African village approach in Australia. And I had to look at the key factors or the key actors. And the key actors would be the family, the community, the service providers, and the government. So these are the four actors. And if they work together to streamline the services and coordinate the response strategy, to work together around the young person and the parent, the single parent, then we may be able to actually constitute what I call an African village in Australia. So the challenge that we have is everyone's doing their own thing. The government's trying to deliver the policies without proper or effective coordination with the grassroots communities, such as the African community. The families are struggling on their own, and they may not be engaging with the family. The young people have gone through so many traumatic journeys with their parents. You may have, let's say, a typical Congolese parent, single mom, who some of her children were born in Congo, then they would move to Uganda, where some of the children were born, and then come to Australia, and maybe some of the children were born in Australia. So within a single one family, you find identity crisis, and young people actually struggle to find their place. And where you find a single mother or father who speak native language and struggle to speak English, and the children pick up English very well. So you see the breakdown of communication within the family itself, and then they're not communicating with the school. So what we've done is looking at those poor actors and making sure that services are streamlined, and looking at the non-governmental organizations that deliver services to our communities as well, because most of them, based on the funding system in Australia, tend to be very competitive and look at the way to meet the funding criteria rather than actually the quality delivery of services to the community.
That is a fantastic view on that. The other thing is to ask you is how do these, because it is, I am a big believer on preventative maintenance. Preventative, it is a system that if there's a big parental or community services involvement within that environment, it will prevent those bad kids going to be in trouble with the law because there is that intervention. How is the funding coming from the government or different organizations to be able to support these because it is community services? How difficult or what are the challenges to get the funding?
Not easy because first of all, the funding very competitive. There are so many organizations that apply for the same types of funding at the state level and also federal government level. And most of those organizations are well established, very sophisticated organization, and they do have the resources. Sometimes they can actually hire a consultant to write a grant application. And if you compare them to small grassroots communities like QACC that doesn't have the capacity, we wouldn't be able to compete. And we are the one that actually understand the issues because we are in the community 7 days a week, 24/7, and we understand where the problems are.
I really like that. The fact is that there are some organizations that are OB funded to be able to look with these the young people within our community, where your organization, which is on the ground, you have boots on the ground because they are coming from my house, Rio's homestead, or within the African community, but you find out the funding is so thin within like your organizations that they are funding some other organizations which are said to be established. But historically, as you know, there's better way to do things, but I hate to see a system which was being developed in the 20s and 30s and 40s within Australia, where some of those institutions later they become seriously traumatized the people they were being meant to be protecting. We'll come back to that because I need to discuss with you some other issues associated you're setting up. As that music which is fading up, Nkechi turn up here in the studio. I got Ben from QACC. He's the president for African community in Queensland. We were discussing about this funding. How are you? What is the challenges we were talking about this to do with funding?
Well, as I mentioned, I think it's more about competition with a well-established organization, and the strategy we applied since the past 2 years is actually establish a strategic partnership with some of the main organizations. When we established the youth center, we were funded initially by KFAS through that partnerships. And that's how we managed the past 12 months. And then I started applying for a number of grants at the state and federal level, including the one that was announced 2 weeks ago. So I applied for that to run early intervention and rehabilitation programs across different locations, including the African Youth Center at Redbank Plains.
Oh, that is fantastic, and congratulations for you and your team. I think you put a lot of efforts on that. Abiba, Advice, Call, those they have been sort of a big support, and you in general, that is your team, and it is fantastic to see getting those funding. Rio, for these, you have visited these facilities from QACC?
Not specifically. I've worked with young kids from what's it called, child services, yeah, and I pretty much know. No, child services. Child services. Yeah, so pretty much I know how challenging the work can be. That I do, and it's actually pretty awesome what you're doing, and especially now, like. Is working with kids of that age that he just specified. There is a lot involved with it, but I have specific questions, that personal interest to me, like, do you have rehabilitation programs that you have that are set? What exactly do you do with these kids?
In terms of rehabilitation programs, that's a very good question. So that actually target the young people in the criminal justice system. And we run those programs in Brisbane Youth Detention Centre and Westmoreton Youth Detention Centre. At Brisbane Youth Detention Centre, we have youth mentors, young people from our community. They run programs 4 days a week. And that's actually to help young people, mentor them through individual goal setting programs, therapeutic crisis, intervention, music, recreational activities, to make sure that we change their mindsets before they transition back into the community. And when they get released, then they have already built the relationship with our youth mentors. So our approach is actually to empower the young people in the community to take the leadership on the issues that affect them. So that's how the rehabilitation strategy works. It's more about working with young people while they're still in the system before they get released. And when they get out, then we've already engaged with them.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I think it is a fantastic way, especially because if that what Ben is bringing up together is if we don't have interventions when they are in early interventions, they are going to be repeat offenders.
Yeah, they will be.
Yeah. Absolutely. And one thing I need to add to that is that when we approach these young people who are in the criminal justice system, so the most important thing is understanding the nature of offending, because there are young people who are offending just they're being young people and they're just making mistakes, for example. And then there's another group that's actually involved in some very sophisticated criminal activities because they are being used by well-organized criminals. So we work very closely with some intelligence agencies to detect and find out who those people are who are using our vulnerable young people and to disrupt those networks. So we're trying different approaches to make sure that we understand the driving factors leading to the young people offending in the first place, while we're also engaging with the parent and the school to ensure that the vulnerable kids are not ending up in the same trap.
And in cases where they need legal aid or services, is that something that you help point them in the right direction, or what exactly?
Yep, absolutely. We do work with other key partners. So we don't, obviously, with the system in Australia, it's important to work in partnership with other organizations who've got different resources and expertise and capacity. So we have key partners in terms of legal services, in terms of counseling, in terms of employment and things like that. So when we come across a young person, they need specific help that we cannot deliver, then we refer them to the right services. So we do have a range of different programs that help in terms of law.
Okay, and lastly from me, because you mentioned about the whole funding and stuff, so do you market your products to boost awareness so that at least people are aware who want to help? How do you do your communication, marketing, however you want to stage it?
I think one thing we need to be aware of is that as community leaders, as community associations, for example, we rely on passion and people who put up their hands to help, like you guys are doing here in the studio, trying to empower the community and give the community the voice that they need. So that's what we do. We rely very much on volunteers 100%. For instance, these young people, the youth mentors, they're volunteering for the past 2 years. So I only started hiring some of them in the past 12 months when I started getting some funding from state government and foundations and things like that. So in terms of our marketing, we rely very much on social media. We've got young people who are using social media 24/7. We've got our public relations department that use Facebook and other social media platforms. So everything that we do, we put it up there on social media, including how to access our youth center. And by the way, the programs that we run are not only for the African youth, so we actually open them to young people from all cultural backgrounds.
And if I ask you, for example, young people, if those people who are on that demographic, on parents who are listening to us, who are going to be watching, if they want to approach you guys, how easy can it be and how can they do it?
First of all, people can walk in at any time. If you know the location at Red Bank Plain, number 2 Shannon Street at Red Bank Plain, so that's our African Youth Center, and it's often 7 days a week. So people can self-refer. They can just
So
go there
Shannon
whenever.
Street in Red Bank. This is number 2 Shannon Street. That is African News Center, which is being established by this QACC. For those listeners, wherever they are, if you are, or you are in that sort of a situations, your parents, you're listening, you have that demographic, reach out to QACC. As Ben is sort of saying, is you can't just walk in and sort of there will be 24/7 at least 7 days a week, working days, there should be somebody there. Kwa wale ambao wananisikia kwa lugha ya Kiswahili, kuna hii nafasi ambayo imefunguliwa ya kushughulikia hawa vijana wadogo dongo, kuondolea kwenye hiyo shida za kuwa wanafanya mahatia, kupatikana polisi, kufanya uhalifu, vitu kaa hizo. Kuna hii station ambayo imefunguliwa na QACC ambayo inasaidia hawa vijana. Kama unataka kusaidiwa counseling, unataka guidance, namna hiyo, kama unajua yote ambao wanatakikana kufanya, akona hizo shida, wewe ni parent ama ni wewe ni mjomba wake wa ukiwa South East Queensland, popote ulipo, you can reach us also to Ready for EB. You can be able to reach out to this African program, and we can give you some directions to be able to meet, to catch up with QACC. So this is a community support, and we are here to advocate. As Ben also cut on that you said some of our kids, they are being used as mules by other organized criminals, where at the end of the day, when things goes wrong, they just walk away, and these kids, they will be the one who will be found in the hands of the law. So yourself, listeners, wherever you are, and we usually saying as a parent, know where your kids are. If you don't know how they are doing, etc., and also if you find there's some things which are not adding up, I won't say how to parent, because everybody have their own parenting style. I don't know how to say as an uncle how to be an uncle. Everybody has an uncle, somewhere a good one and a bad one. It is that interruption to see how we can be able to put especially our youth, getting them out of the bars, getting them back on the street, making them better citizen for this country we call home. Fantastic. Rio, this lady, sensational lady from Zimbabwe. I need to know about her.
Oh, Kirsty Coventry.
Kirsty Coventry.
Yes.
Is it Kirsty or Kirsty?
Kirsty.
Kirsty.
Kirsty Coventry. I hope I'm saying that okay.
Yeah. When that name is called, it is she was in my vine, because I remember that name being called Sydney 2000.
Yeah.
I was a young kid running around Brisbane, but I think there was only one representative of Zimbabwe.
Yeah. She really carried the flag well.
She carried the flag well, and she was a big threat to Australia. And who's this white lady from Zimbabwe? What is she doing there with the Zimbabwean flag? And oh boy.
I guess it did pay off. She was full of integrity and patriotism, because now she's the minister of what is it called again? Youth Sports, Arts and Recreation in Zimbabwe.
Fantastic.
Since 2018, still in the seat.
This is very patriotic, because what I can remember is everybody was so angry because Australia is very competitive in swimming.
Yes.
And now there's this girl come from the bush of Zimbabwe,
a landlocked country even,
and have no
water.
No water. They have water, and the rivers are packed with crocodiles and hippos. And she's swimming, and she won a gold medal. I think she had 3 days.
So she was she's an Olympic swimmer, and she's a world record holder. Yeah.
She's still the world record.
And the most decorated Olympian from Africa.
That is fantastic.
Still.
This is I remember, as I say, this lady saying she should be on her late teens or early 20s, but she could swim. She could swim at least 3 body length. She's in front.
Yeah.
And all Australians, they are saying, because the number 2 and number 3 and number 4, they are Australians. Where is this lady coming from? But now I used to tell them, because we were watching it in backyard in those small TVs. I was saying it is a Saza.
Yeah, oh
They
yes.
usually
It's the
eat-
pub.
the pub they
The
usually
Saza.
eat.
The Saza de Murillo. I'm
Yes.
pretty sure she was going down on that.
Yes, and I think she's sensational, and it is good to bring memories of those people, patriotic people of Africa who really she carried the Zimbabwean flag so high,
Yeah.
and also to see now after the finishing of her career in sport, she's a minister in Zimbabwe, and I hope very soon we'll see others coming up very soon.
Yeah,
Similar, like
she's
we were talking about that girl called Angela from Kenya.
Okotoyi.
Okotoyi.
The surname I can't pronounce properly.
Yes. Let's go back to our guest here tonight. There's a lot of events which is happening very soon. What exactly is happening? I had a Grapevine, this African Award. What is it, Ben, about this African Award QACC is setting up?
Yes, so this is the second year we're doing it. So we call it Afro Queensland Award Night. We did it last year. And again, we're going to hold another one on the 7th of May. And there are a lot of people who are coming. And the reason why we want to do that is actually recognize and celebrate the achievement of our people and the progress. We need to acknowledge those who have contributed to the development of the African community here in Queensland. We do have a significant number of our people doing great things, all different professional fields, and we don't normally highlight them. So it's our responsibility as a community to highlight them on the night and celebrate them, and for them to understand that we appreciate their contribution in different ways.
That is fantastic. And if somebody want to buy these tickets, where can we buy the tickets?
The tickets are available on Queensland African Community Council Facebook page and also on our website. So if you visit our Facebook page, Queensland African Communities Council, so you should be able to see the link there and just buy the ticket.
And where exactly, what is the address?
So it's going to be at Grace House, Paradise Road, Slack Creek in Logan.
So for those who are listening, this is the time for the ladies to shine. You real.
I've got a quick question. Is it going to be lavish like the last time? Because I need to kind of go shopping.
It is time the ladies go shopping. A lot of feathers. You need a lot of feathers
Yes.
for your hair. They need to be pumped up.
Oh, definitely.
And I reckon from the word go, it is this is going to be almost like ladies' night because it's dress up and the beautiful African women dress up colors and all sort of stuff. I think it is going to be sensational. Kwa wale ambao wananisikiza, afadhali mchukue hizo tickets ambazo zinatakikana kwenye zitapatikana. Thank you for having you today. We really appreciate you, and this conversation we need to continue with it on social media so as we can be able to enrail. It has been a beautiful night today.
Oh, it has.
It is the hours go so quick. Kwa wasikilizaji wetu tunaombea usiku mwema na siku ingine tutapatana. Asanteni sana na mbarikiwe.
That was awesome.
Thank you very much.